Hello, everyone, and welcome and thank you for joining the More Days, More Ways Kings County event. Today, you'll be hearing from our illustrious secretary, Dr. Shirley N. Weber, PhD, about the importance of the Voters' Choice Act, as well as the various functions in the Secretary of State's office. My name is LaKenya Jordan, and I am Deputy Secretary of State for the Voters' Choice Act, and I am pleased to introduce to you the bio for our secretary. Dr. Weber was nominated to serve as Secretary of State by Gavin M. Newsom in December 22nd, 2020. And she was sworn into office on January 29th. Secretary Weber served 4 terms in the Assembly previously, representing California's 79th District, and has been part of the San Diego area for many years. Secretary Weber is also the first African-American Secretary of State and only the 5th to serve as a constitutional state officer in the state of California's 170-year history. Secretary Weber was born to sharecroppers in Hope, Arkansas, during the segregationist Jim Crow era, where her father did not have the opportunity to vote until he was in his 30s. And Dr. Weber has championed things like the Reparations Task Force and revolutionized Secretary of State's office over the past 12 months and pushing forward the Voters' Choice Act. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you Secretary Shirley N. Weber.
Well, thank you, LaKenya, and thank you for all of your hard work with our Voters' Choice Acts. I'm honored to be your Secretary of State. It's been a little over a year, and it's been a wild, wild ride with lots of things taking place, lots of elections and lots of challenges. But we meet those challenges with tremendous enthusiasm, especially me, given the fact that my family was one of the victims of Jim Crow laws in the South and never had a chance to vote as long as they lived in Arkansas. And I had grandparents who never voted in their life because of the repressive laws and the intimidation done to those who wanted to vote. And that's why it's so important to me that as a Secretary of State, that I spend a tremendous amount of time and energy pushing the Voters' Choice Act and pushing all of our new innovations with regards to voting, registering to vote, and actually participating in the process. You know, I can remember times when we had 40% of people actually voting. And now in our last election, we had over 80% of all of those registered to vote actually voting, and now have over 80% of those eligible to vote actually registered. So our goal is obviously to reach 100, because voting is so important, not only in California, but across this nation, because it gives every person a voice. It gives them the opportunity to raise issues. So the Secretary of State's office is, and I serve as the chief election officer for the state, but it has many parts to it, and sometimes people forget the many elements of it. And so I just want to share with you very briefly what each one of those divisions is about. You can always go on our website and see the other and look at the divisions that's there, because I want everyone to take advantage of the tremendously rich resources that we have in the Secretary of State's office. For 40 years, I was a professor at the university. And so when I think about history and archives and those kinds of things, I get excited, because I know that our history really helps to define our current challenges of the day and really motivates us to move forward with greater ideas and greater opportunities for those in the state of California. So California, my office is the home of California Archives, all the history, the legislation, the documents from the past. We're in charge of the California Seal. All those things are in our office, and now they're on the internet. So you can sometimes go there and look to see what the history of California is about. And if you have some unique things, you can also decide to contribute those things to the archives. We're also in charge of all bids division. So that would mean those of you who will file your business papers, who file for your licenses and those kinds of things, and register with the Secretary of State, all of the business programs and divisions in the Secretary of State's office, which also includes our nonprofit organizations as well. So, and our notary is under the business division. In fact, it's the largest division in the Secretary of State's office. Elections, most folks know more about that than anything, but we are the chief election officer of the state. I am. And as a result, we're in charge of all elections, large and small, in every county. And we work hard to make sure that all of our counties understand what the rules and regulations are, help them in the implementation of it, make sure that our elections are fair and transparent and easy for people to understand. And so we're in charge of the election division, which is really an extremely important activity for the state of California. Clearly, there's an executive division, and you've met LaKenya, but there are a host of other deputy secretaries who are helping me to administer the entire operations of over 600 employees. We have an information technology division. You can imagine with all the technology, particularly around voting and filing papers and those kinds of things. We have a strong information technology division that works and helps us to maintain all of our technology working well for each and every one of you. We have management services division that really helps us to really run our buildings. We have a huge building in the Secretary of State's office. If you get a chance to come to Sacramento, you can see a beautiful building that we have, but it requires the training and the management of a host of individuals at every level, from whether they're custodial or whether they're executive management in terms of our offices. All of those things are in our management service division. And last but surely not least is our political reform division. You hear oftentimes of people talking about political reform, people violating the law, and then folks learning how to live up to the expectations of our political campaigns. All of that's done in the political reform division, and they administer those laws. And they also find individuals who violate the Political Reform Act. So that's the Secretary of State's office. It's a huge office, but central to that today, you're here because of the elections. The VCA is an extremely important part of the Secretary of State's office. It was authorized to begin the VCA efforts and to have VCA counties, and we've grown from when I was there, began with about 15 to now over 28 counties that are actually VCA counties. Their theme is more ways and more days, and you'll hear about that. But I'm very proud of those who work so hard to make our VCA counties work and make sure that you know that you're in a county, VCA county, that really has as its focus to make sure that all of the votes count, but equally important that everyone has easy access and opportunity to vote. We're very proud of your registrar of voter, Mr. Villa, and his team that's really working very hard, and you'll hear from them today. But let me just say thank you so very much for becoming a VCA county. King County is now a VCA county, and working hard with us to make sure that all of our votes are counted, that everyone has access and opportunity to participate in this very important democratic process. So once again, thank you so very much to the VCA team that's here at King County, and of course with the registrar of voters and his team. We know that the combination together will be absolutely dynamic. So thank you so very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Secretary. That was wonderful. We are going to introduce a couple other folks that are on the line with me today. I want to ask Alicia Albanese to say hello. She's our Assistant Deputy Secretary for the VCA. And so Alicia, can you say hello for a minute? And then also Tori House, who is our Policy and Planning Coordinator, and she will be taking questions and answers during that part of the program. And so please remember to put your questions and answers into the chat. And you'll hear from Tori later on in the program, as well as from Alicia. All right, let's get into our presentation. All right, so what is the Voters' Choice Act? Well, as you heard Secretary Weber talk about, this is about providing more days and more ways for California's voters to vote. Kings County, we congratulate you and salute you. You are one of the newest VCA counties for 2022, and we've enjoyed working with you over the past year to become ready. Lupe has been an amazing ROV and partner in this process. So we want to tell you all about the wonderful things that are going to happen for Kings County. So this essentially means that you will be able to vote by mail, of course, 30 days before an election, vote at a vote center up to 10 days prior to an election, and then able to use a ballot Dropbox, of course, up to 28 days. So that's right, 3 different ways to vote, and you're able to vote early. And so obviously the message here is about having you have more ways and also more days to vote. All right, next slide. So this process is also about engaging voters through the community organizations. And we want to acknowledge our partners, League of Women Voters, ACLU, Common Cause, Disability Rights of California, and the many other community-based organizations that are on the ground working with voters all the time. You know the communities best, and we rely on your partnership to help keep us informed, as well as to connect us with the community. So on behalf of our office, Secretary of State's office, we thank you, salute you, and also the county also appreciates your partnership. So what we do is we are partnering with community organizations that the county is anyway, to provide inclusivity, voter access, and then also to improve our voter education and outreach. We know that, again, these organizations are most connected to the hard to reach communities and some of our special needs communities. And so we really want to make sure we just celebrate that partnership. Next slide, please. All right. We also provide an opportunity for voters to engage through the LAC and the VAX. So the Language Access Advisory Committee is something that's right there in Kings County that you can join. So anybody with a language preference other than English, of course, all languages are welcome, but we really want to celebrate and uplift those different language needs communities so that we are giving you the right information that you need in your language. So if you haven't already done so, please contact the Kings County ROV and join their local LAC. And also the VAC, the Voting Access Advisory Committee. And that committee is all about trying to get those voters who need extra help or extra access for the voting. So whether your disability, no matter what it is, the county is prepared to help you. And there's a committee that's there right on the grounds in Kings County so you can join and become advisory and a partner to the county, the community, and as well as our office. Next slide. Okay, so as you heard earlier, VCA began in 2016 with the law being passed. And then by 2017, counties began mobilizing around the state to become VCA. The first 5 counties were Nevada, Napa, Sacramento, Madera, and San Mateo. That was 5 counties originally in 2018. Then, next slide, in 2020, it grew by 10 more counties. And so we added on counties like Butte and El Dorado and Calaveras and Mariposa and Tuolumne. A number of counties who total 15 different counties throughout California, that were in 2020 VCA. And so they have been pioneering the way, and it works so well that now we have in today, 2022, a total of 28 counties. That's right. So Kings County is one of the 28 counties that will become VCA this year. And so again, we salute you, Kings County, for your effort and your commitment to bringing more days and more ways of voting to the Kings County voters. So as you can see on the map on the screen, there will be a number of counties throughout the state. And as you can see, it's just growing and expanding. So we went from initially 5 counties now to 28 counties and a total of 16 million voters. That's more than 2/3 of California's electorate that are now in the Voters' Choice Act. So again, congratulations, Kings County. Next slide. So I'm not going to steal too much of the thunder. You're going to hear next from our Kings County ROV, Lupe Villa, but I wanted to make sure we give you some resources before we switch it over to Lupe. So initially, the most important thing you can do to help yourself be ready to participate in this election is to register to vote. And so many of you may already be registered to vote, but it's important to update your registration and to make sure that all your information is accurate in our system. That's because everyone's going to get a ballot mailed to them. So I believe May 9th is the first day ballots will be mailed out. And so you'll want to check in with the Kings County local office and with our website as well to review your registration status. As you can see, the second bullet here on the screen is voterstatus.sos.ca.gov, where you can go online and check your registration status, make sure your name is correct, make sure we have your correct signature on file. You can go to the Kings County Registrar of Voters Office and actually sign a new voter registration card if you need to, because that's also an important step, making sure your signature actually matches what is on file in our system. And then you can also get more information by clicking on this QR code that's right on your screen. You can hold your phone up to the screen here, and you'll be able to go right to our website. So those are three important resources. And then the Kings County website will also have more. But I'll let Lupe Villa tell you all about what Kings County has got going for the upcoming elections. But first, I'll introduce Lupe. So Lupe Villa was appointed in 2019 to the Kings County Registrar of Voters by the County Board of Supervisors. Lupe has served tirelessly in leading the charge to help Kings County become the next VCA county. He began his career in 1995 during his time of service with the county. So he's had over 20 some odd years with Kings County, and he's gained invaluable experience that make him an effective ROV. And he served in a number of positions, including Human Services Agency and Program Manager for the admin division there. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce our colleague, your Registrar of Voters, Lupe Villa.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan. Thank you so much for the introduction. Appreciate it. And welcome everyone to the VCA kickoff event for Kings County that is assisted by the Secretary of State's office. And first of all, I want to thank my staff for working tirelessly to ensure that we meet the requirements set by the Secretary of State's office to be able to deploy and become a full-blown VCA county. So we will be using a VCA model in the upcoming June 7, 2022 primary election. Previous to that, our models were VCA-like models that was deployed in the September recall election, as well as the November 2020 general election. I do have a brief PowerPoint presentation to go through. I do encourage you guys to call our office at 559-852-4401 with any questions or concerns you may have. You may also visit our website at votekingscounty.com. That is votekingscounty.com, and we'll be more than happy to assist you as we transition to VCA. So VCA, the Voter Choice Act is a way to modernize the experience of voting. As mentioned by Ms. Jordan, Senate Bill 450 was signed into law in 2016. From then on, 14 counties became VCA in 2018, and all other counties have transitioned in 2020. We're so hoping, and I'm working along with other counties to ensure that we transition as many counties as we can to VCA, which is a great model to offer our voters, especially in Kings County. And it's noted in this slide, you'll notice on the bottom says most significant change in the election administration in the history of California. And I echo that from every other county, that it is the most significant change. It's a change that all voters will get accustomed to in Kings County, and we'll make it sure that all the voters have the opportunity to vote by early voting, or by dropping off their ballot drop boxes, or by coming into our office and casting their vote in person as well. In Kings County, we have over 61,000 registered voters. There's a breakdown of those registered voters. There's 20,648,000 Democrats registered in Kings County, followed with 24,032 Republicans, 12,379 are registered as no party preference, and 4,542 are registered as other. Here are the breakdowns that we have in regards to percentages of the folks that came out and voted in person, vote by mail, and provisional, and the number of registered voters as it relates to the September 2021 recall election, the November 2020 general election, and the March 2020 primary election. You will see that the turnout from the March 2020 primary election moving to the November election, it's quite significantly different, and it's a lot bigger numbers of turnout. I would like to add that the November 2020 general election was a VCA-like model that was deployed during that election. And I would like to give credit to that model for increasing the number of voters coming out to participate and vote. The same goes for the September 2021 recall election, where we had just over 50% turnout in Kings County, which is a significant turnout for a county the size of Kings. And let alone the November 2020 general election, where we had a 44%, it was 44,000 voters came out of 60,000 for a 65% turnout. Next slide. The current number of registered voters we have is 49,245 that's 80% of our registered voters are registered as permanent vote by mail. The 20% turnout or 20% of registered voters are non-permanent vote by mail. However, with the passage of AB 37, all active registered voters will be receiving a ballot for the June 7, 2022 election. Those ballots will be mailed out to all of our registered voters starting May 9th, which is this coming Monday. Voters in Kings County should expect a ballot in their mail to come in by next week. I encourage you to call our office. If you have not received a ballot by a week from Monday, to call our office and we can check the status of that ballot for you. So please make sure that you turn out and call us if you don't get that ballot. So here are the reasons why we opted to go with the VCA model compared to that traditional a single day of voting. So first of all, you get one single day of voting. With Voter Choice Act, you get 10 days early voting plus election day. With traditional model, you can only vote at your home precinct. Unlike the VCA model, you can vote anywhere within Kings County. So if you're familiar with Kings County and if you're in Avenel and you're in Hanford, you want to cast a vote, you may do so. If you were with the traditional model, you will not be able to do that. The traditional model did not allow us to have all the ballot types available. With the Voter Choice Act model, we can print any ballot type at any vote center throughout the county. We'll be having 7 centers for the June 7th, 2022 primary. We'll have an increased number of provisional ballots if we do a traditional model. With the VCA model, we can definitely decrease that number of provisional ballots. The Voter Choice Act model allows us to deliver fast and accurate count, and it allows us to deploy equipment that is advanced and secure in technology. Next slide. There's 3 ways to vote in Kings County, and that is the first one is by mail. The U.S. Postal Service was the #1 source of delivery of ballots to my department for the last 3 elections, meaning that it is a secured way of delivering your ballot to our office. I encourage voters to use the U.S. Postal Service if you opt to use that option. There's nothing that says you shouldn't be using it. The second option is to use our ballot drop box. We have 11 secure ballot drop boxes throughout Kings County. And you'll see the slide depicts a picture of the official ballot drop box. It must read official on it, and secondly, it must have our county logo, as you can see on the picture. And the last option to vote is to vote in person. You may visit any one of our vote centers throughout Kings County, and again, there'll be 7 centers. 2 centers will open up for 10 days prior to the election, and the remaining 5 centers will open up 3 days prior to the election. The vote centers will offer different services. Not only can you vote, you can also get a replacement ballot at any one of these centers. You can update registration. You can receive assistance in multiple languages, and you can also have access to our ADA compliant marking devices, or ballot marking devices. Therefore, don't just come out because you need a ballot. You can also get assistance with marking your ballot. You can get assistance with language as well. Here's a simple sample of a layout of one of our vote centers. The picture depicted on the screen shows the layout of the vote center at Sierra Pacific High School. You would see that our goal is to make sure that our voters come in on a flow basis, meaning there's one way in and one way out. It expedites the process. It allows our voters an easier flow, and it assists our poll workers in maintaining a control of a vote center, therefore providing a better experience for each one of the voters that shows up at our vote centers. You depict on the picture, you'll see there's ballot marking devices that have been identified, ballot on demand, which prints our ballots on the spot. And we also have the traditional voting booths as well. Voting accessibility. You may visit any one of our vote centers to use the accessible ballot marking devices that we'll be deploying to each one of the centers. You can also contact our office, and we'll send a poll worker or election officials to assist you to vote curbside. You may also use the RVVM system if you choose to from the comfort of your own home or wherever you may be at. To sign up for RVVM, it's requested that you contact our office at 559-852-4401 to request access to our RVVM system. We're also going to be sending out Tagalog facsimiles to our vote centers to assist the Filipino community with voting, and I encourage them to call our office if they need assistance, and we'll be happy to assist them as well. Next slide. Here are important dates, and I ask that you please take note of these dates. Monday, May 9th, this coming Monday, all active registered voters in Kings County will be receiving a ballot by mail. And if a ballot is not received within 7 days, I encourage you to call our office. We do what we call pools of our ballots that go out. So our first pool was going to be mailed out May 9th. And then we're going to follow up with 2 different ones. That is to capture those folks that fell out because of a change of address or many other reasons why they did not make the first round of ballots. Monday, May 23rd is the last day to register by mail or online for the June 7th election. Does not mean that you cannot go and register on election day. All that means is that May 23rd is the last day to register in order to receive a ballot by mail. On Saturday, May 28th, Memorial Weekend, we'll be operating 2 vote centers. Our first vote center is going to be the elections office located at the Government Center, 1400 West Lacey Boulevard in Hanford. And the second location, it is at the Office of Education in the city of Lemoore. Those 2 offices will be operating from 9 to 5, starting May 28th, 2022, all the way through June 6th, 2022, and then from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Tuesday, Election Day, June 7th. On Saturday, June 4th, the remaining 5 additional centers will open for operations. Those centers will operate from 9 to 5 and from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Election Day, June 7th. On June 7th, Election Day, you may vote at any vote center. You may register and vote at the same center if you show up, and we must receive your ballots by the postmark by that day. So meaning your ballots must be postmarked with the June 7th date in order to be counted in this June 7th election. And Tuesday, June 14th is the last day to receive your ballots by mail with the postmark of June 7th. Here again is our vote center hours of operation. Vote centers will operate from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. during early voting period and from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Election Day. Here are the locations for both of our 11-day vote centers: Kings County Government Center and the Kings County Office of Education in the city of Lemoore. This slide is showing you the vote centers that are going to be operating effective June 4th through June 7th, Election Day. Will be located at the Avenel Recreation Center, 717 East Monterey Street in the city of Avenel, at the Corcoran Rec Gymnasium, 900 Dairy Avenue in the city of Corcoran, Kings County Government Center, Longfield Center at 560 South Dowdy Street in the city of Hanford, Sierra Pacific High School Gymnasium, 1259 North 13th Avenue in the city of Hanford, and at the Lemoore Civic Center, 435 C Street in the city of Lemoore. Again, those centers will open up for operations on June 4th through Tuesday, June 7th, 2022. Here is the locations of the drop boxes that we'll be deploying. Actually, they're being deployed today as we speak, and they'll be open for service on Monday, May 9th. So you may be able to use any one of these drop boxes effective Monday, May 9th, all the way through June 7th, Election Day, at which point we'll close them down at 8 p.m. at night on that day. There's 2 drop boxes in the Government Center. There's a drop box located at the Home Gardens Community Service District in Hanford. There's a drop box located at the Hanford High School on Grangeville Boulevard. A drop box in the city of Lemoore at the Lemoore Parks and Recreation Department, the Central Union Elementary School, and the Lemoore Masonic Lodge. Those 3 drop boxes are located within the city of Lemoore. We located or installed a box at the Avenel Branch Library, 501 East King Street in Avenel, at the Amtrak Station, 1099 Otis Avenue in the city of Corcoran, Commission on Aging Center in the city of Vermona, and a Dropbox was added to the Kettleman City branch library for the community of Kettleman City. Getting involved. There are several ways you can get involved. You can provide us feedback by visiting our votekingscounty.com and reviewing our election plan. You can email feedback at elections@County of Kings. Provide us feedback regarding our election administration plan. You can also join our VAC or LAC committees as mentioned by Ms. Jordan as well. And lastly, here you have our new and improved I voted sticker that is applicable or that is made for Kings County alone. You'll notice county on the bottom. That is a design that was made up by our staff and it's going to be used in the June 7th, 2022 election.
All right, that was wonderful. Thank you so much, Lupe.
welcome.
Very great presentation. Yeah, and hopefully Kings County voters feel empowered and more educated now. You guys have done an amazing job preparing yourselves for this election. So I have every confidence it's going to go well. So it looks like Tori's saying we don't have any questions thus far from the audience. However, we often get frequently asked questions. And so perhaps we could just kind of share a couple of those Q&As with you now. Lupe, is that okay?
Yes, that's perfectly fine.
All right. So your presentation really did cover a lot of it. You did, around people when to register to vote. You told them where to go. But what happens if a person forgets to register before the deadline? What can they do if they miss the deadline to register to vote?
So any voter within Kings County, they're welcome to come to any one of our vote centers. As mentioned during the presentation, looking at is they can come in, they can register to vote up to election day, and we can take that vote as a conditional vote, bring that back to our office and process that vote. Meaning the conditional vote is to ensure that they're qualified to vote in the state of California, specifically in Kings County. And that process is behind closed doors within our office. And when I say closed doors, meaning within my office, it doesn't sound right to say it, but that is a process that we have in place. And that process is available to any person within the community of Kings who is willing or is wishing to watch or observe the process that we have in place. So any voter within Kings County or any person within the county may come to our office or any vote center and be an observer and watch the process as it happens.
Sure. And, I really enjoy your presentation and how you outlined the pros of converting to VCA. And you've been VCA, like you said, for a couple of elections now, so you know the benefits. What would you say is the most beneficial aspect of VCA for Kings County voters?
That is a very great question. Not just for me personally, but for my office alone, it's that we feel that the VCA-like model that was deployed in the September 2021 recall election and the November general election that was beneficial to the voters of Kings County by far. You can see the numbers show that they speak for themselves, but it also allows the voters to come out and vote during the weekends. Some voters are coming in after church, some of them after breakfast on a Sunday, and I think they found it fairly easy and accessible to come out during the weekend as well. So being there during Saturday and Sunday and Monday, I think was a great benefit for us, and he captured that through the numbers that we have. And I think that is the entire goal of this, is to make the vote accessible to anyone within Kings County to ensure that they come out and take advantage of the voting privilege that we have as citizens.
Yeah, it sounds like you know the community very, very well. And so you know that all these options are providing flexibility for the wonderful lifestyle of different Kings County members and voters. So I'm glad to hear that. Are there any tips you want to offer to voters for how to stay on track with the process?
Yes. So first off, I think it's one of the things that we've done. We did show a picture of our ballot Dropbox in the presentation. However, we modified that picture to include two areas. One of them is corruption of the election process. The second one is electioneering, which is not allowed, and it allows you to go into our website and read more about those two areas. But mostly important is that we added a decal right below the flap where you insert your ballot, and it says, please sign your envelope. That is the number one issue that we face just about every election. Folks forget to sign their ballot envelope, and therefore we
Yes.
have to follow the process of sending the ballot a notice to the voter for them to sign the document, send it back to our office. So I don't know how much stress this, but make sure you sign your envelope before you drop it into the Dropbox or before you send it in. Make sure that that signature is updated. If you haven't updated your signature within the last 3 to 5 years, I highly recommend that you re-register so we can capture a new image of your signature, and it facilitates the process as we process those ballots at each election, not just the June 7th, the upcoming election, but at every election. It makes our life easier as well.
Yeah, that's so important. I was just thinking about those who get married and, your name changes. And so, you may have to re-register after that because your signature will be different, right? You have a different last name.
Right. Yeah.
You'll be signing. So that'd be really important.
Yeah, there's many things that can happen in our personal life that may impact how we sign our names. It could be a medical condition. It could be a temporary disability that you may be suffering from, or it could be that you just graduated, became a doctor. You got an ugly signature now, so we can't make out what it is that you have. So it is very important that you do update your signature. It makes it easier. It makes sure that your vote is processed and counted as it should be.
Those are great tips. Thank you so much, Lupe. It looks like Tori is, who's also hosting our Q&A panel, has a question. So I'll turn it over to Tori. You want to go ahead and address the question?
Yes, thank you, LaKenya. So we do have a question here from Norberto. The question is it still the case that if you come to a vote center, you should bring your original mailed ballot to ensure that you don't vote on a provisional ballot?
Good question. Lupe, you want to take the question? Do you want to take it or?
Sure. So yes, we encourage voters that are wanting to vote in person. As mentioned during the presentation, every active registered voter within Kings County will be receiving a ballot by mail. If a person chooses to vote in person, we ask that they bring that ballot with them or that envelope with them. However, if they don't, we're not going to deny them the opportunity of casting a vote at the vote center. They'll be issued a ballot, and we process that ballot. If once been issued, we can suspend. Only the first ballot that is captured by us will be counted. So yes, we encourage that you bring it. It makes our life easier. Folks some of them are traditional and they want to vote in person, and that's the way they voted all their lives. There's nothing wrong with that. That is the purpose of us being available at our vote centers, 7 locations throughout Kings County for 10 days prior to the election. So therefore, make use of that. Visit us at our vote center or visit my office, and we can take care of that business as well.
Yeah, wonderful. So the answer to the question is yes, you can bring it with you.
Yes, ma'am.
And yes, you can use it at the vote center. If you happen to find it after you voted, do not vote again because they will only count one ballot.
Yes, ma'am. That is correct.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, we have actually a couple more questions here. So one question is, what does it mean to be an active voter?
So the meaning between an active voter, that means you're a registered voter in Kings County. So there is situations in which voters become inactive for various reasons. They can move out of the county. We're going to deactivate. We're going to push that voter to the county they moved to if we get information that they moved. So when I stress the word active, I just need folks to understand that not all people on the voter rolls receive a ballot. Only those folks that are active registered voters get a ballot. So that is the reason why I use the word active.
What makes a person inactive?
It could be many reasons why. It could be they moved out of the county, they moved out of the state. There's just something. They could be in prison. They could be. So many different scenarios of why a person may become inactive.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Lupe. Another question we have is, how can someone get connected with your LACNVAC?
So if you would like to join either one of those 2 committees, I strongly suggest that you call 559-852-4401. You can ask for myself, Lupe Villa, or you can ask for Manuel Hernandez, and he'll be able to connect you and assist you in providing you the information. You can also visit the Secretary of State's website where you can find the election administration plan. You can also visit our website at votekingscounty.com, and you can get that information from our website as well, or send us an email to elections@kingscounty.com as well.
Mhm. And Tori, Alicia, can you guys address like how to join the state Slack? In fact, we also have one there, right? So can people do that?
Absolutely. They can join the state Slack and VAC. Again, that's Language Accessibility Advisory Committee and the Voting Accessibility Advisory Committee by going to our website, sos.ca.gov. On the elections tab, there's going to be information about that. Essentially, you'll just fill out an application. What they're looking for is someone who has experience voting with a disability or voting, working with folks that are limited English proficient, or experience with limited English proficiency to better assist voters who need some support in those areas. So again, our website's sos.ca.gov. That's going to be under the elections section, and you can find that information under the committees and boards.
And you can serve on both, by the way, right? You can serve Kings County and on the state at the same time. Any more questions, Tori?
Yes, there's actually a question for clarification. So if we're going back to the question in regards to bringing the original mailed ballot to ensure that someone's not voting a provisional ballot, there's a question for clarification that if you don't bring it, will you be issued, or will your new ballot be provisional?
Alicia, you want to answer that one, or the county?
Let me introduce Manuel Hernandez. He's one of our staff, and he is working tirelessly with the VCA. Manuel was champion behind VCA, along with our supervisor, Victor Chavarin, and I'll allow Manuel to answer some of these questions that are coming through.
Okay, so regarding the provisional ballot, the way it's going to work here for Kings County is we're going to be deploying something called the no ink poll pad system. What that does is it's an electronic roster that shows us whether or not a voter has already mailed back a vote by mail ballot, if they've already voted at another vote center, stuff like that. So as long as your status on that poll pad system does not state that you've already turned in a vote by mail ballot to the office, you shouldn't be voting provisionally. All ballots will be normal ballots. The only reason why we ask that you bring in the vote by mail ballot if you're not going to use it is just so that way that we can destroy it properly. That's pretty much the only reason why.
Right. Thank you for that answer. That's good clarity. So now we know. Again, there's more than one reason to bring your ballot into the office. So thank you. All right. Do we have any more questions, Tori? You're muted.
Thank you. Yes, another question here is, when is the last day to register to vote for this election, specifically the primary election?
Oh yeah, May 23rd, I do believe is the last day to register to vote for this election to get a ballot through the mail. However, if you do miss that deadline, you can go into any vote center when they're operating or come to the elections office and do what is called a conditional vote, which is where you would do same day registration, and we would process your ballot after we counted all the regular ballots on election night. That's the only difference.
So we don't want you to wait to the last minute, of course, but if you are out of time and you're on election day, you can all the way up to election day walk in. And then again, the vote centers are open 10 days. So you have all this opportunity to walk in, ask questions and talk with someone and fill out your ballot all at the same time and register. So plenty of options.
Would you also be able to speak to, we have a question here, if you, let's see, if you could speak to how somebody can follow along with their ballot to ensure that it's been counted.
Oh yeah, so if you want to, the Secretary of State does partner with an outside organization called Ballot Tracks. You can sign up for Ballot Tracks at where'smyballot.sos.gov or something like that. I don't remember the exact website, but if you go to the Secretary of State's website and do a search for Ballot Tracks, you should be able to find the link to sign up. And then once you sign up, you can go ahead and register whether or not you want to receive text messages as to where your ballot is in the process regarding when it's been mailed to you, when we receive it in the office, when we check it in, whether or not the ballot has been accepted and is ready for processing, stuff like that. And also they'll let you know that if for some reason the ballot is rejected, it'll give you a text message saying that the ballot has been rejected and to give us a call and we can explain the reason why. And typically it's for things like missing signatures or signatures don't match and stuff like that.
Alicia, you just put a really important link into the chat. Can you speak to that link?
Absolutely. So as Victor was mentioning, this is the link for the Where's My Ballot. You can go to this website. This is the SOS official website, just in case you have any concerns about accessing different links. And then the first link that's in the middle of the page is where'smyballot.sos.ca.gov. And this is where you can sign up for ballot tracks. You know that it's secure because you've been directed from the actual SOS website. Also in the upper left-hand corner, once you get to that website, it says the state of California. So just to verify that you were looking for the right ballot tracks. You can sign up by filling out your name, first and last name, date of birth, and your zip code. And then once you get logged in there, you can select to receive text message updates, email updates, so you can keep track of where your ballot is in the process. And then when it's counted, you'll get an email or a text message notification, the delivery of your preference, to let you know that your ballot has been counted for the election.
Thank you, Alicia. We have a couple of other questions here. This question came from Claire. If someone doesn't vote in several elections, will they become an inactive voter? And if so, how many elections before this happens?
Victor, you want to answer that one? For
Okay.
how's it work in
Oh, yeah,
Kings
sure.
County?
So my understanding is that it's 2 general elections where a voter does not have any activity on their account. We'll send out a notification saying, hey, are you still here? At that point, if we receive a notification back saying that, you know, the address information that we have for that voter is like undeliverable, or if we receive notification that maybe that voter might have moved out of the county or out of the state, then we do an internal process where we send out a secondary notification to notify the voter, hey, are you still here with us or not? If that notification comes back to us, then we move them into the inactive state, where they stay dormant for, I do believe it's the 2 general elections. And then after that, we can officially cancel them from the rolls. Unless we receive notification from the voter saying that they've moved out themselves, they fill out a cancellation form and email that back to us. And we verify the signature on that to match up to make sure that it is actually the voter that's requesting removal from the rolls. Then we just go ahead and remove them immediately from that point.
Perfect, thank you. Another question here is, if someone is in college and they want to vote in their hometown, how would they be able to do that? Are they able to drop off a ballot in another county?
Yes, so any ballots that we receive from other counties, we immediately forward them to that county. So it should be the same rules that apply statewide. So if you're in, let's say San Luis Obispo, you're going to Cal Poly over in San Luis Obispo, and you drop your ballot off, your Kings County ballot off in one of their drop boxes, as soon as San Luis Obispo receives it, they should forward that immediately to us so we can process it and count it.
Perfect, thank you.
We had a follow-up question that came up in Fresno County when we were there the other day, about whether or not you can register to vote where you go to school, even if you register to vote someplace else. So for the student who has a ballot at home, was like, well, you know, I actually really vote, I spend more time actually in my college town. Can I register to vote in their college town instead of registering to vote where they are, where their home is?
Well, typically we want the person to register where their domicile is, where they technically live at. So, I mean, if you're going to claim residency in your college town, then you would go ahead and register with that residency address that you have for there. We would remove you from our rolls, and we would get notification to remove you from our rolls, and we would go ahead and process that. And then if you do decide to move back to the Kings County area, just re-register, and then we'll get you activated again here in our county.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
but we typically do it where the residence is, where the person claims residency. Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. I'll pause to see if we have any other questions. I don't see any currently. Okay.
There was a kind of a trick question that was put in the chat. Maybe Manuel can answer that one.
Okay, here's the question. Sorry, it looks like I overlooked this one. The question is, how can someone find their assigned polling place?
Okay, so since we are now a voter's choice at county, there are no longer home precincts. You can go to any vote center in the county when they're open. You can get the ballot that corresponds to where you live. So you're voting on the races that you are entitled to. and you would vote that way. That's the reason why the provisional ballots go down so much when we're in Voters' Choice Act, because you're voting the ballot you're supposed to vote versus voting the ballot that's available at a poll place.
Thank you. In the meantime, we did get another question that came through. So the question again is from Claire. What happens when someone dies? Does family need to inform you?
So typically we receive notification from either the county health department that a person has passed away or from the Secretary of State directly. And we go ahead and remove them from the rolls after we verify the information is correct. Sometimes though, that does, we don't always capture all of them. It happens. There's a lot of data that goes to and from the Secretary of State, to and from, coroner's offices to us. So sometimes people do fall through the cracks. If for some reason you do receive a ballot for a loved one who has passed on, please contact our office, let us know so we can remove them from the rolls. We also request that you write the word deceased on that ballot and send it back to us so we know to remove them from the rolls as well.
But you do confirm it with the authorities though, right?
Yes, we
You
do.
can't just-
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify, as a person isn't just arbitrarily marking deceased on people's ballots, but.
Oh, no. Anytime we have to cancel a voter, we're always making sure that we're verifying the information against the information that we get from the departments, also from the Secretary of State. We make sure that we're canceling the correct person as well by verifying the information provided to us versus what's in their voter profile, things like driver's license numbers, last four Social Securities, birth dates, full spelling of the names, last known addresses, stuff like that. We don't just cancel people willy-nilly.
Perfect. I don't see any outstanding questions so far. If there are any questions that come through, I will definitely flag them, but it looks like currently we have answered all of the questions that have been submitted.
Okay.
Well, that's excellent. So again, great presentation by Kings County. I want to then acknowledge and thank ROV Lupe Villa. Manuel, thank you too for answering the Q&A questions today. And then my assistant deputy, Alicia Alvarez, and Tori House, our policy and planning coordinator. Thank you for your wonderful leadership. We've all worked together over the past year with Lupe and the team to help bring us to this point. So we really are in celebration with you today. And our secretary, I believe, has left the call, but I know she is just ecstatic as well. And we want to reiterate our support for Kings County. So let us know if you need anything more, but congratulations.
We will. Thank you so much, Lakenya. I can't stress enough the appreciation we have for your office, Secretary of State staff, not just the VCA transitional staff, but as a whole, they've always been very supportive, from cybersecurity, from funding to VCA. It's always been, a great working relationship, and I plan on continuing that, at least from Kings County perspective, to ensure that we have a strong working relationship, to ensure that our voters are given the accessibility to the vote, that it matters so much to not just me, but my staff and to the folks at the Secretary of State's office as well. So thank you. We appreciate you. Thanks for the support, and I hope we keep it going. It's been great. It's been a good process transition to VCA, and I hope our voters take advantage of it from here on out and come on and vote. You have no excuse. You get 11 days to do it. You get 11 boxes. So there is more ways and more days to vote. So come on, join us June 7th, 2022 for our primary election. And we're looking forward to counting your vote.
Awesome. I think it can't be said better than that. Thank you so much, Lupe.
You're
And just
welcome.
acknowledging our other SOS staff who's in support here, Emily Hinton, Janelle Jackson, Denise Green. Thank you so much for your teamwork and support for this presentation. And to the voters of Kings County, get out there and do your civic duty.
Yes. Thank you so much.
All right. Talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.